Last time I was this early, this was still a film. I can't begin to count the number of times I've dodged all news coverage since then. There's no doubt in my mind that I question the possibility of finding joy in a pandemic that still strikes me as a waking moment that only seems to get worse. It seems as if this period of self isolation may never end. We wish to control our growing anxieties by controlling time, which only tends to pass day in and day out. We slip in and out of monotonous routines until these cyclical procedures evolve into abstract patterns dressed in disarray. And once we've burnt the last potato that we've tried to boil, it suddenly feels like the end of the world. Maybe joy isn't what we need to search for in these trying times. Maybe it's something bigger and greater than any of us living. Maybe what we need is something that we've had in us this entire time, and it would be in us to remember that this is a part of who we are if we refuse to let time forget. Maybe it's love. And love can be found in all sorts of things, and all sorts of things can be found in love itself. It doesn't have to be precisely romantic, but it may as well be our greatest source of comfort, because this is the only kind of comfort that endures. And I didn't make these rules up, they've been true, and it took 3 films for me to understand it. One thing that accentuates the value of love is the act of communication. Before Sunrise lets us in on conversations entirely built around a chance encounter between Jesse and Celine, who utilize his remaining hours in Vienna as an opportunity for them to form a relationship entirely around their sense of communication. What sets this film apart from many romance flicks is its ability to use conversation as a vehicle for communication, while showing its value in relation to understanding love itself. The conversations that make up the entirety of this film challenge unrealistic and exaggerated depictions of love because they are tinged with authenticity, creating an interaction that is spontaneous but real. It not only challenges our ideals of romance, but constantly reaffirms our belief in love itself. It's proof that words can take us so far, but, as this trilogy poses to its audience, just how far are words willing to take us? This is where the act of sharing comes in. In fact, sharing is a shape of love, and is more than just an act of self-extension. In a way, we can look at it as a means of self-revealing, and in turn, this act of sharing one's identity to a significant other can bring us comfort in times that can be difficult to navigate. This is especially prevalent in Wong Kar-wai's magnum opus, In the Mood for Love. This film presents love as a form of solace through the lives of Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow, two neighbors whose paths cross upon discovering that their spouses have been having an affair with each other. Since the two are often alone, the friendship gives them an opportunity to find comfort in each other's presence, given the state of their respective marriages. Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow find solace by reenacting how their spouses met and got together. Whether it's through ordering dinner or sharing the briefest corridor glances, they slowly reveal details about their spouses in order to help them better understand each other. The relationship between the two develops out of the resonance that they share with each other. Through this resonance, they develop feelings for each other that will cause them to fall in love. However, their principles and circumstances are what will keep them distant over the next few years, ultimately resulting in an enduring love that will never be realized, but can never be forgotten. You know how they say, show, don't tell? I always thought that that saying made sense the other way around. If you tell before you show, then you're more likely to be understood. But I realized that the act of showing is already so telling of a person, that our desire to be understood can be such a beautiful thing. Portrait of a Lady on Fire shows us that revealing our interest in others is part of an interaction that not only fulfills consolation, but shapes an important part of our identity. It introduces us to Marianne, a painter whose commissioned portrait of Eloise turned into a collaborative effort of acknowledgement that extends beyond her subject. It brings us into a world where the desire to understand such a subject can be easily restrained, but the desire to resist it retains an impact that is stronger and more profound than one will ever know. When we break free from the rules and conventions under the guise of understanding, we are able to get to the heart of love itself by creating a portrait that sustains itself with time. Because the only materials we ever needed came from within ourselves to craft the most vivid memory of a person who has shown us what love truly is, long after they have gone their separate ways. Though we won't be so full of regret in not getting to know them further than we've already chosen to remember the fact that understanding their essence is truly enough to love them. Love is a language that's as universal as music and food, but none of these languages achieve their universality without the communication that comes through sharing and understanding them, and how they'll come to be so much more than what we already know. It's exactly why these three films provide three different lenses on something as familiar as the wind in your hair or the back of your hand. It's the kind of love they provide that can bring us closer together in a time that reinforces actions from a distance. It helps us understand the importance of noticing things when you pay attention to them, like the absence of one's company and the liberty of solitude. That if there's any kind of magic in this world that exists, it must be in the attempt of understanding someone sharing something, even if we don't know exactly where that may lead us. Because love happens when we least expect it. It might just have us all figured out.
There's a wind that